Well, now at this point, we have to. I want to remind you what we said in the previous video lessons when we introduced our bullet point method, and we say that after taking a look at the whole sheet music, so to understand the general concept, to see all the different symbols that we have in, we have to remove all the non-essential symbols, and we have only to focus on the notes, so to be able to read them with the correct rhythm, and of course with the correct pitch, so their names, the name of each note. So now we have, once we have understood how to read the notes with the correct duration and pitch, we can start introducing again some of all the symbols we removed. And the first one is the fingering. So as you can see on the sheet music, we have on the sheet music, of course, different numbers above each note, and as you surely remember, these are the fingers, we could say. This number allows us to know which fingers we have to use to play each key. So as we said before, fingering is very important. So of course it is very important because it is essential to have a good performance, and it allows us to have a very effective result, musical result, especially most of all when we have some difficult passages, when we have some difficult bars. And so having a good fingering is really essential to have a good performance. Once we have, so when we have our fingering, we must do this. We have to find them, of course. We have to look at them, so to see the different numbers and understand for example, the fourth or the number four. Tell me that I have to use the fourth finger, and so on, the ring. And then I have, of course, to learn it, because I need to learn the piano piece, and I have to use always the same fingering. It is very important. But of course, I also have to study the fingering. What do I mean with the term studying? With the term to study the fingering? Why? I mean, you can think that it should be enough only to use it. I have the fingering written, and I use it. But it is not so easy. I now want to convey right now. I want to point out something from my experience, which is very important, because many times it happens to find a fingering which is not the best fingering, which is not perfectly correct, which is not the most effective fingering. And we have to remember one thing which is very important, that the fingering is not written by the composer. Of course, sometimes we have that we have some exercises which are written by a composer, and in that case, of course, we have to use that fingering, because it is we have to study, we have to improve some skills only using that fingering. But it is a very special situation. But normally, when you have a normal piano piece, the fingering is written by the editor, or some person like this, and so it is not so obvious. I mean, it is we don't have to think that it is the best fingering. And so, in my experience, thanks to my teacher, I learned how to change it, how to make it better, how to make it more effective, because as you will see now, as you are going to see right now, it is really possible to have very often a better fingering than the written one. So to understand how to change, and if we have, of course, to change the fingering, we have to understand that the goal of a good fingering is to allow a good fingering must allow I mean, if we have a good fingering, we can play in a very effective way. So we have to feel that our hands are stable, are strong. Okay, so this is the goal of our fingering, to have a very stable, a very self-confident situation, a very self-confident way. Okay, so this is the way we have to feel when we have a good fingering. So the key point to determine if the fingering is good or if we have to change it is that in a good fingering, we have to use the most stable fingers, the strongest finger, as often as possible, as much as possible. And so we have to understand which are the most stable, the strongest fingers. The strongest fingers that we have to use, that we can use when we play a piano piece, are the first three fingers. So the first, the second, and the third. And so we have when we use them, it is very we have a very self-confident situation. We feel very self-confident, and of course it is for both our hands. And if we use as often as possible, as much as possible, these three fingers, it is very we have a very easy situation. It is very I mean that we will have as less mistakes as possible. It is very probably this aspect. So of course, as we go on with the study of piano piece, we will learn that sometimes there are also some other aspects that we have to consider to choose if to change or not the fingering, because, for example, when we play the black keys, we have also to consider something else. So, for example, now this is only an anticipation that I want to give you, and is this that when I play the black key, it is better if I don't use the first finger on the black key. This, of course, it happens. It applies when I play a melody. But of course, when I have to play some chords with the black keys, of course, I can also use the first finger. So this is only an anticipation, but we will learn it. I mean, quite in the next video lessons, we will talk about it. So this is something very important. To have a good fingering, we have to use the first three fingers as much as possible. And why it is this? Because, of course, so it is better if we don't use the fourth and the fifth, or maybe it is better if we don't use them very often. Okay, so we have to use the fourth and the fifth as less as possible. Why is this? This is because these two fingers are weakest. Are the weakest finger. We can say it is very easy. Of course, are smaller than the second and the third, but also they are weaker than the first. So these three fingers, the first three fingers, are the strongest fingers of our hand, especially in playing piano. So this is something very important. To summarize, to have a good fingering, we should try to use as soon as possible, as often as possible, these three fingers. So now we have to put into practice everything we said now, of course, about fingering. And I want to practice with a very easy example. And this example is this. now I want to compare the original fingering that I found, that I have found on the edition, on the original edition of the sheet music that we are studying, and I want to compare with the one that I'm going to use, that I change it. Okay, so and I want to show you how and why I did some changes. Okay, so let's start from the original fingering, which is this. In the first bar, I have the first on C, the second on D, the third on E. Okay, then on the second bar we have a rest. Then on the third, I have the second on D, the third on E, the fourth on F. Then on the fifth bar, I have the fifth finger on G, the third on E, and then we, of course, then we go on. So it is quite easy to see that, to understand that in this fingering we have a very comfortable position, because we never move. I never move my hand to the left or to the right. I hold this position. I keep still. I keep still. I mean, this position. I stay still on this position. I never move my hands, and this is very comfortable, of course, because I'm using all the corresponding keys to my position. But of course, this is not the strongest, we could say, the strongest fingering, which is not the most stable, because of course in this fingering we are using also the fifth and the fourth fingers. So how did I change this fingering? I changed it in a very easy way. My goal was to use as often as possible, as much as possible, the first three fingers. So what did I do? I did this. Okay, the first bar is exactly as the original. So 1, 2, and 3. So since the third bar is in the third bar, I have the same succession of notes, but of course instead of starting from C, I start from D. So since I have the same succession of notes, but starting from a different note, I want to use the same fingers, so I only need to move my hand to the right, so that now I'm in this position in which I have the first on D, the second on E, and the third on F. So in this way I can play this succession of notes using the first three fingers. Okay, so now we come to the fifth bar. Then again I move again to the next key on the right, so that I can play G with the third finger and E with the first finger. Then I come to the sixth bar, and then I move to the left now, of course, so that I can play I can play F with the third and D with the first. And so again, also even in the case of the seventh bar, I move my hand to the left, so that I can play E with third, D with second, and E with the first. This is of course the same position as the one of the first bar. Okay, this fingering is less comfortable than the original one, because I need to move my hands. Okay, but this fingering is much stronger than the original one, because in this way I'm using the first three fingers. Okay, and the same happens for the left hand. The same applies this apply to the left hand too. Okay, so let's take a look at this. In the original one we had 1, 2, 3 C, B, A. Okay, then I have a whole note rest, and on the fourth bar I have to play B, A, G. So in the original one, I have second, third, and fourth, because even in the case of the left hand, I had a very comfortable fingering, so I didn't move my hand. Okay, so I played in this way. But again, I decided to move my hands now to the left so that I can play B with the first, A with the second, and G with the third. Then again, I move. Then I come to the fifth bar when I move to the left. So I play third and one, F, A, 3, 1. Then again, I move. Now I move to the right, of course, and I'm on the sixth bar, and now I play G and B with the third and first finger, so the strongest fingers. Now I'm using the strongest finger, as you can notice, yes. Okay, then let's take a look at the seventh bar, in which I have to play A, B, and G, and then I already have a good position because I play A with the second, B with the first, and G with the third finger. And then I come to the last bar when I have to play the lower octave C from middle C. And now, so I move my hand to the left and I play this. I play the lower octave C with the second finger. So everything I did is to change my fingering, thinking about this concept, which is that the strongest fingers that I have to use when I want to play, so that I can have the most effective musical performance, is to use the first three fingers. So where I found in the finger, in the original finger, when I found that it was a good fingering, so such as, for example, in the first bar, I left it as the original one. But when I found it when I found some comfortable fingering, but not strong fingering, so when it was used some weaker fingers, such as, for example, the fourth and the fifth, I changed it, and of course I tried to use the first three fingers as often as possible, as much as possible. This is the key point of having a very effective fingering.